morning and welcome to this meeting of the local review body of the 27th of April 2023. I can confirm the meeting has been properly called and is quorate. Can I please first ask members to appoint a chair for the meeting, please?
Could I nominate Councillor Ian Carruthers?
I'll second that.
Okay. Councillor Carruthers, thank you.
Good morning, members, and thanks for the opportunity to chair this committee meeting today. I remember going back to when they were first established, chaired the very first one, but it's been a long time since I've actually chaired one of these members. But good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the local review body. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the recording will be made available on the Council's website for public listening. Remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you are not addressing the meeting, writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Item number 2, Senate apologies. Chair's approvals of members' remote participation, so I'll do that right now. I approve members to participate remotely. Claire?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I can confirm we've got 7 members present today, 3 in the hall and 4 on Teams, being Councillors Dempster, George and McFarlane and Marshall.
Thank you, Claire. Members, do any members have any declarations of interest for the 3 items today? I'll give the screen a chance just to see if anybody's coming in. Don't see any, so if for some reason I've missed somebody, we can pick that up later on. Right. Claire, it's over to yourself to outline the procedures. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I can confirm we've got 3 notices of review for consideration at this meeting. First being item 4, land to the southwest of Hollinghurst, Cannon Bay, refusal of planning permission in principle for erection of dwelling house 220932 PIP. We've got the usual papers in your pack: notice of review, report and handling, observation of appointed officer, comments of applicant's agent, planning application form, decision letter, relevant extracts from LDP 2 and National Planning Framework 4, photos of the application site and locality. The grounds of refusal on page 112. The proposed development is contrary to Dumfries and Galloway Council Local Development Plan 2 Policy H3 and associated supplementary guidance on housing in the countryside, which permits the erection of new houses in the countryside in identified circumstances only, and none of these circumstances apply. The requested method of determination is that be on the basis of an assessment of reviewed documents only, with no further procedure. The grounds stated in the notice of review are, in summary: the site represents a sustainable location within walking distance to Cannon Bay for onward public transport, local shops and services. The proposal supports the 20-minute neighbourhood philosophy set out within the draft NPN4. The site is within a building group relating well to the existing built form within both the setting and sense of place. The application site benefits from being situated within an enclosed landform which marks the boundary between the building group and countryside beyond Therefore, the erection of the proposed dwelling upon the site is considered to be acceptable in accordance with Policy H3. The proposed development is considered to be acceptable in transport terms, taking a similar approach to the access arrangements for the neighbouring dwellings. The proposal has been carefully positioned and designed, ensuring there is a good level of amenity for future occupiers and providing good quality standards using sustainable methods. It again will be a high quality building material and supported by renewable technology. The site's boundaries are enclosed by distinct landscaping with further enhancement proposed along the northern boundary. The impact of the proposed dwelling on this landscape is considered to be negligible and therefore acceptable in landscape terms, which is compliant with Section C of Policy OP1, as well as the special qualities of the nearby scenic area in which the site does not lie within. In accordance with Policy OP2, the proposal is considered to be sympathetic to characteristics within the setting of the building group, not extending beyond the building line to the south of the site. Consider that the proposal complies with the development plan and in particular LDP Policy H3, against which the original application was refused. There is a presumption in favour of applications that accord with the development plan unless there are significant material considerations that indicate the development plan should not be followed. The proposal will deliver local investment and trade employment whilst expanding purchasing power in the local economy and supporting existing rural services. The proposal is considered to fall within the guiding principles of SPP and do not consider that there are any impacts which are significant and demonstrably outweigh presumption in favour of the development. Therefore, respectfully request that the appeal be allowed. So your development plan policies are listed on pages 81 to 87. You have obviously LDP Plan 2, OP1, OP2, OP3, H3, IN8, IN9, IN10, and supplementary guidance, housing in the countryside, and design quality and placemaking. You also have National Planning Framework 4, policies 1, 2, 9, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18 and 22. Main issues for the local review body to consider are: does the proposal comply with the terms of the development plan? In particular, does the proposal meet the terms of LDP 2 Policy H3 and the guidance set out in the adopted LDP 2 supplementary guidance? In relation to the principle of the proposed development at the application site, does the assessment of the locality indicate that the small building group criteria are met? If so, is it agreed the application site would not represent an appropriate infill site in terms of LDP 2 supplementary guidance on housing in the countryside? NPF4 is now part of the development plan. The decision in this case was taken by the appointed officer before NPF4 became part of the development plan. Please note that any decision taken today would need to make specific reference to NPF4 policies as part of the development plan, so your decision must be to either vary the planning decision or grant planning permission, making the reasoning clear and explicit. Does the proposal accord with the terms of NPF4 Policy 17, Rural Homes in Principle? If it's not considered that the proposal accords with terms of the development plan, are there a set of material considerations of sufficient weight to justify departure from the terms of the development plan? If so, what reasons would members give for such a reason if it was considered that the proposal departs from terms of the development plan? And if members are minded not to uphold the appointed officer's decision and instead grant planning permission for the proposal, what set of conditions and reasons would members wish to see attached, if any? And if members are instead minded to vary the terms of the appointed officer's decision to make explicit reference to NPF4 in the decision notice, what changes to the specific reasoning for the decision would be required? So, having outlined the documents within your papers, it now falls to the LRB to determine whether it has sufficient information to consider the review. It is confirmed that there will be no representations from any party here today. The LRB has the following options. You can decide you have sufficient information before you to determine the review today. request further procedure in the form of written representations. The LRB would be required to state precisely the information it was seeking and who would provide it. Resolved to hold a hearing, again specifying who would be invited to speak and on what matters, or resolved to hold a site visit, accompanied or unaccompanied. This can be done in conjunction with any of the above, but would not allow a decision to be made today. And if the LRB resolves it has sufficient information and that no further procedure is required, then the LRB has the full powers to uphold, reverse or vary a determination. The decision notice will include a statement on the terms in which the planning authority has decided the case reviewed. So a planning advisor is present at your meeting in relation to this case. It is confirmed that he has not had any involvement in this case prior to the submission of the notice of review and was not the case officer or the appointed officer for the application. He is here purely to provide independent advice, matters of planning policy, law or process to the LRB. We also have a solicitor present here today who will act independently if the LRB require any specific advice on matters of law. So members are clear, no further clarification is required. I will ask the Chair now to lead the debate and in the first instance to lead the LRB through the agenda papers together to decide if you have sufficient information before you to make a determination today.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Claire. Thanks, members, for your patience. Just my misunderstanding with the information was that I was looking for. So, as outlined already, item 4, it's land to the south-west of Hollinghurst, Canonbury, refusal of plan permission in principle for erection of a dwelling house. 22/0932/PIP is the reference. Index of context. So, I think I'll just ask Robert, I'm just refreshing my memory, whether I normally go through this or go through the photographs. Aye, I think so. That'd be the normal practice, wouldn't it? So members, Robert's going to take us through the photographs first, then we'll go through the index of context and decide if we've got enough information to make a decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'm quite happy to go through the pictures for item 4. These were taken by the case officer at the time the application was assessed, and they've been passed to me and annotated by the case officer. I should point out I haven't been to this site yet at all, and what you're about to see in the presentation are the photos that appear in pages 149 to 150 in the document that you have in front of you. They're exactly the same. So looking at the first slide, this is a view looking west over the application site. So it's on the left-hand side of that post and wire fence. You can see in the foreground in the wee kind of pen that's round about that calf. So that's the application site. You can see it at the moment. It's quite an overgrown looking piece of what looks like agricultural land. The next slide is showing a view of the neighbouring dwelling house, which is known as Sweetbriar. So that's across the road and approximately 100 metres from the application site. It might help you to navigate it using the location plan that was submitted with the application, which is on page 103 of your papers. So that kind of sets some kind of context to these photographs as well. The third picture is a view showing the roof of Hollinghurst itself, which is across the road and located approximately 160 metres from the application site. And the final slide I've got is a closer view of Hollinghurst itself.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have anything in regards to the location plan at all that you can show us, Robert? I know you've referenced it in the papers, page 103, I think you said, but do we have anything? If not, it doesn't matter, but although...
Okay, it's certainly within the papers, the PDF document at page 103. I'm not sure if it's possible to show that on the screen or not. No, I'm being told it's not, unfortunately. But it is within the document you've got in front of you.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for that, Robert. And it is page 103, as Robert's already identified. Members, we'll open it up to yourselves. Do you got any particular questions or points you'd like to raise in regards to the photographs? I have sufficient information, says Jim. Okay, no, and Councillor Dempster's making it clear within the chat that he has sufficient information. at this moment in time. So I will briefly go through and give members a chance, go through the index of contents, Jim, before we get to that point, I suppose. So item 1 is the notice of review and the related documents, which is pages 15 to 31. Do any members have any particular points in regards to that? Item number 2, like I say, so if for some reason I miss you, I'll carry on. If I miss MD online or within the room, we'll come back. Item number 2 is the report and handling and related correspondence, which is page 35 to 57. Councillor McFarlane. Andy?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Can I just clarify, on page 27, we end at 4.16, but when we turn to page 28, the next one is 4.27. Is that a typing error, or is there something missing from that?
We're just having a wee look at that. Andy, we'll come back to you in a second.
Thanks. I'm looking at this document. Just for the avoidance of doubt, this was an original supporting statement which was submitted by the applicant, and it's been reproduced in the papers for completeness. So you've got the notice of review form which precedes it, which goes up to page 19. Then following this is the notice of review statement that supports that. So when I'm looking at this, I mean, this was introduced from online. You go from 4.16 on page 27 to 4.27 on page 28. The conclusion I draw is that there's a missing page in that when it's been moved across. It should be fairly easy to provide that missing page for members just now. I can go onto our document management system and find that missing page, copy it and possibly email it round, but I would need Clark's advice about introducing late information, but it does look like a page is missing, yes.
We'll just ask Claire to come in on that before you come back, Andy.
Okay, it looks like there's possibly been an admin error in collating the papers. I mean, if members would like that information, we could perhaps have a short adjournment for that to be available.
So Andy, it's kind of up to you at the moment. If Robert says he's got to go away and find that extra information, but what we could do is go through the rest of the documentation and come back to that, and even other particular points that might be raised. If you're comfortable enough with that, Andy.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, Chair. Happy to carry on, and it's clearly we want to be in possession of full information, but happy to carry on in the meantime. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for picking up on that. So I think I went beyond the report, and I should be ticking these over here. I think observations of the appointed officer and the applicant's agent's notice of review on pages 61 to 63. I don't think I've covered that. Don't see anybody coming in. Like I say, I'll come back retrospectively. Comments of the applicant's agent on observations of the appointed officers, pages 66 to 72. Planning application form submitted on the 30th of March 2021, associated plans and supporting information, that's pages 75 to 107. Then the decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated the 4th of October 22, that's 111 to 115 pages. And I think it's last but not least, is it? Oh no, the relevant, sorry, item number 7 is the relevant extracts from Dumfries and Galloway. Dumfries and Galloway Council's Local Development Plan 2 and National Plan Framework 4, pages 119 to 145. And item number 8, part 8 of that is photos of the application site and the locality, pages 149 to 150. Don't think we'll go beyond that. And Robert's working away steadily just to see you have that information. So we haven't had any further information or points of clarity that MD's picked up on. So if Robert's had a chance, we'll just if Robert's want to say a couple of words to that, we'll come back to you, Andy, and other members to see if it's relevant, just to adjourn for a couple of minutes to take into consideration that piece of information.
Chair, just to advise, I have found that missing page and I've copied it and I've emailed it across. So if we can adjourn just now for a couple of minutes, we'll get it sorted out and make sure that's with members in front of you so you can take it into account at the meeting today.
Okay, thank you. Everybody comfortable with that as well as yourself, Andy?
Yeah. Yes, thanks, Chair.
Yes, aye.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm picking up the time being at the moment 10:50, so 11 o'clock we'll come back. Excellent. See you then, members. Thank you. Good morning again, members. So, as we've deferred or adjourned for a small amount of time there in regards to taking that page that Andy's highlighted, but what I think we've found is that there's a number of pages that were missing there. So I'll just let, I think maybe Claire talk to that. It seems to be all the even numbers, and I'll come back to yourself, members. It's in our hands. What do we want to do in regards to that information? Ultimately, we should have the time, the chance to digest that. So there's a number of options at us, and we'll maybe go over them, or available to us. Sorry, we'll go over them at that time. Claire, if you've got anything to add to that, you just give reassurance for the members.
Yeah, thank you. Just to confirm that all members have received a full copy of that document that starts at page 21 of the paper, so it's for members to be satisfied that they've had the time to digest that information.
Thank you, Claire. I'll come back to you first, Councillor McFarlane and Andy, because you've picked up on this, but obviously there's more pages than what we originally thought, and I'll go to members after that, other members, just to gauge, do they feel they've had enough time to digest that, or is there another option that we might take?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Having had a quick glance at it, I don't think that there's anything material that would alter anything, but maybe other members have seen that, but happy to be advised by Claire and yourself, Chair.
Thank you, Andy. I'll open it up to other members just to get your thoughts in regards to, do you feel you've had enough time to digest that extra information that you've had? Councillor Marshall, Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I've had a look through the full report now, and I kind of agree with what Andy said. I've had a quick glance through it, and I'm happy with the information now that's been provided.
Thank you. If that's the thrust of what we're receiving, don't see anybody else coming in with any particular points. So we'll look to proceed then, if we're comfortable enough. Nobody in the room is indicating either that they're not comfortable with information, the additional information that they've had in regards to having the time to go through that. So we've got to the photographs. Andy, you've come back and brought that particular piece up. Members, now it's for us to determine the actual the review. So we'll open up to members for any particular views, points, discussion points and such like that would like to raise. Thoughts towards the original decision, the information submitted in regards to why it should be, the review should approve it. I'll open it up to members. Councillor Dempster, Jim, then Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. Now, having studied the report in detail, I see no reason to reverse the decision made earlier by the case officer, and I would suggest or propose that we reaffirm that decision and refuse the application on the grounds set out in the paper.
Thank you, Jim. Councillor Thompson, then Marshall.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Having looked at the paper, and obviously having had the refreshed information supplied just there, but in terms of the process and the reasons why the decision was reached, there's nothing in the papers that suggests that wasn't the appropriate or an appropriate decision at the time, so I've got no issue with that and would support Councillor Dempster's view.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Councillor Marshall, you're next, I think, Sean.
Yeah, just to agree with the previous two speakers, I think a lot of the appeal is predicated on Hollandhurst being a small buildings group, and I think it's clear from the information being provided that it's not. So I'm happy to agree that the original decision was the correct decision.
Okay, I see thumbs up and nods and such like from other members, so that's a decision. Robert?
Sorry, Chair, I just struggled to get my microphone to work. It's just a question. When you're making your decision, you don't want to vary the decision you don't want to grant planning permission, but do you want to vary that decision to take account of MPF4 policy 17, because that's part of the development plan now? So you would vary the decision that was taken at that time before MPF4 was part of the development plan to now include a direct reference to MPF4 Policy 17 in your decision taken today. It's in your gift, obviously, Chair, to do that if you desire.
As a third reason for refusal, I think, or an alternative reason for refusal. Jim, is that your hand coming up there?
Just to say, I think that's a good suggestion from case or from our officer supporting this LRB today, that we don't want to ignore the local or the recent document from the Scottish Government, and we should include a reference to that in any of the decisions we make today, whether it's an approval or a refusal. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. So, Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, it's just for my own clarity, really, but when I was looking at that, I thought, well, this is a decision based on the information at the time the decision was made. So, and I thought that's kind of what we were testing in effect. But if it's appropriate, and we're actually saying, actually, in revision to that, since that decision was made, other documents should be included. I was just sort of wondering, do we need to do that, or is that just an option that we can take? Thank you.
Chair, my advice on that was, sitting as a local review body to take today, you're making a fresh decision, and at this point in time you have to make that decision in accordance with prevailing circumstances. At the moment, MPF4 is part of the development plan, which it wasn't when the original appointed officer's decision was taken. I don't think, looking at the reason for refusal originally, it said the proposed development is contrary to Dumfries and Galloway Council Local Development Plan 2 Policy H3 and associated supplementary guidance on housing in the countryside. And then it says which permits the erection of new houses in the countryside in identified circumstances only, and none of these circumstances apply. I think all you would really need to do would be say it's contrary to that, and then after associated supplementary guidance on housing in the countryside, you just insert and MPF4 Policy 17, because it's the very kind of generality of the housing in the countryside in principle that's, under assessment here. And I don't think it would really take anything more than that, Chair.
I picked up on the next one as well, Stephen, just for further information. And I'm sure it says under whatever Town and County Plan Act it was, but the most recent takes precedence, so it should be involved in any decisions as of, I think it was the beginning of 13th of February, I think, wasn't it? Something about there, NPF4 came into, I think that's the only reason I would support that. I think it's appropriate, but only because it says it explicitly. And it is contained within the papers at some point. I remember reading it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll just get you to outline the decision, if that's okay then, Claire.
Okay.
Including the extra wee bit.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I can confirm the local review body are agreeing to refuse the application for the following reasons. The reasons as set out in your papers, that it be contrary to Local Development Plan 2 Policy H3 and supplementary guidance on housing in the countryside, and further contrary to MPF4 Policy 17 Rural Homes. Okay.
Thank you. Item number 5. Clear. Item number 5 is Darrick Farm, Dunsker. Refusal of plan, permission and principle for erection of dwelling house. 220126 PIP is the reference number. So again, I'll put this back to Claire. Claire's got to go through the papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Again, you've got your notice of review, report on handling, observations of the appointed officer, plan and application form and associated plans and supporting information. In this case, I should draw your attention to page 218 of your papers and confirm that the members have been provided with the fullest information of the 2 labour requirement reports. Should members wish to discuss these in detail, it is recommended that public should be excluded just for those discussions to take place. This would be in terms of paragraph 6 of Schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland Act 1973. Moving on, you've got your decision letter, your relevant extracts of the LDP2 and the National Planning Framework 4, photos of application site and locality. The grounds of refusal are: 1, it has not been satisfactorily demonstrated that a new dwelling house is essential at this location for the operational needs of an agricultural or other rural business and accordingly the proposal is contrary to the policy of the Council as stated in LDP 2 Policy H3, Housing in the Countryside and associated supplementary guidance, and to national policy as set out in Scottish planning policy, which permit the erection of new houses in the countryside only in special circumstances identified in development plans, and none of these circumstances apply in this case. To the isolated location of the proposed dwelling house in the centre of a sloping field, together with the proposed access, we fail to accord with Local Development Plan 2 policies OP2, Design Quality and Placemaking, and H3, Housing in the Countryside and associated supplementary guidance, and that would not have regard to the existing landscape form and character, and would not respect the important physical and landscape features of the site and its vicinity, such that the development would not integrate well into the landscape and setting or contribute positively to the existing built and natural environment. Requested method of determination is that it be dealt with on the assessment of review documents, with further procedure requested in the form of a site inspection. The applicant believes that a site visit is required to enable an understanding of the proposed position and need for the proposed agricultural workers' dwelling house. The grounds stated in the notice of review are in summary: the applicant has demonstrated there is an essential need to an on-site on permanent and full-time basis, taking account of the cumulative responsibilities of general work duties equating to 0.6 per person and the health and welfare of livestock and associated responsibilities which are carried out in addition and on a 24-hour basis. The applicant should have the fair and balanced treatment that other applicants needing farm workers' houses have received by elected members. Having already secured the renting of additional land, and if a house can be approved on the site, the applicant will be able to transition to achieving the main income through the farm business. The applicant has provided sufficient information and has met the essential need criteria. NPF 4 shows the positive direction by the Scottish Government to support rural dwellings where they support a viable farm business, and they're shown to be an essential need for a farm worker to live on or near the site permanently. The applicant's proposal meets these aims. The proposal is in accordance with the provisions of the development plan, and there are no material considerations of sufficient weight in this case to justify making a refusal of the application. The applicant respectively requests that his appeal is supported and approval is given to the farm workers' home. Again, you've got the development plan policies relative to this case. You've got the LDP Plan 2, OP1, OP2, H3, NE2, IN9, T2, supplementary guidance, design quality and placemaking, housing in the countryside, and sustainability, reduce carbon emissions in buildings, and also National Planning Framework 4, policies 1, 2, 12, 16, 17, 18 and 22. So the main issues for the LRB to consider are noting the site visit request from the applicant. Are members persuaded that there is sufficiently compelling reason to undertake such a visit in this case? In this regard, it's recognised that it would need to be requested by means of a procedure notice. Noting that the sensitive information provided by the applicant, principally the labour requirement report dated June 2022, which the appointed officer took into account when making the determination on 17th of November 2022, provides at page 2 that these figures are current and should not be used further than 6 months from the date of report. If members seek updated information in this respect, in this regard, it is recognised this would represent fresh information which was not in front of the appointed officer when the original determination was made, and it would need to be requested by means of a procedure notice. Does the proposal comply with the terms of the development plan? In particular, does the proposal meet the terms of LDP 2 Policy H3 and the guidance set out in the adopted LDP 2 supplementary guidance in relation to the principle of the proposed development at this application site? NPF 4 is now part of the development plan, and the decision on this case was taken by the appointed officer before NPF 4 became part of the development plan. Please note any decision today, again like the first case, would need to make specific reference to NPF 4 policies as part of the development plan. So your decision today again must be used either to vary the planning decision or grant planning permission, making the reasoning clear and explicit. Does the proposal accord with terms of NPF 4, Policy 17, Rural Homes in Principle? And further, does the proposal meet the terms of LDP 2 Policies OP2 and H3 and associated LB2 supplementary guidance in relation to the proposed location of the dwelling house in the sense of having sufficient regard to the existing landscape and character? Would the proposal fail to respect the important physical and landscape features of the site and its vicinity, such as the development would not integrate well into the landscape setting or contribute positively to the existing built and natural environment? Does the proposal accord with terms of NPF 4 Policies 16 and 17 in this regard? And members conclude that the proposal is contrary to the terms of the development plan. Are there any other material considerations which would justify a decision which would represent a departure from the terms of the development plan? And if so, what grounds would such a decision be made? And if members are minded not to uphold the appointed officer's decision and instead grant planning permission for the proposal, what set of conditions and reasons would members wish to see attached, if any? And members are instead minded to vary the terms of the appointed officer's decision to make a reference to NPF 4 and decision notice what changes to the reasoning for the decision would be required. So again, you've got I've outlined the documents, and again it falls to LRB to determine whether you have sufficient information to consider this review, and again they'll confirm that there's no representations for any party here today. You have the same options available to you as outlined for the first item today, and again you have your independent planning advisor and solicitor present should advice be required. So if no further clarification is required, I'll again ask the Chair to lead the debate, and in the first instance to lead you through the agenda papers together so you can decide if you have sufficient information to make the determination.
Thank you, Claire. So firstly, going back to that point that Claire just made, has anybody got any points of clarity in regards to what Claire's just outlined? Councillor McFarlane, Andy?
Yeah, sorry to be a pain, Chair. Yeah, right at the beginning of what Claire was saying there, she says about page, I think it was 218. I've checked page 218 and it appears to be blank. Now it might be just me being pedantic, I'm not sure, but if we could have that checked, please.
Thank you. It is blank in the public set of papers. Councillor, you should also have a supplementary pack, an exempt supplementary pack with the pages that refers to.
Understand, thank you.
Thanks, Andy. So it's in regards to the exempt information that we've got there. Nobody else has got any particular points. So same as before, we'll come back to a couple of points that Claire's picked up on in particular. I think in regards to, we'll come back to them once we've been through this information, but Robert will obviously have photographs as well to go through. We'll go to that and we'll come back to, let's say, the 2 points. I think the Labour report as an exempt item and a request for a site visit. We'll talk about them. Thank you. Robert?
Thanks, Chair. I'll just go through the photographs. Again, these photographs have been taken by the case officer during their site visit. I haven't been to the site yet, and the photos replicate what's in your papers on pages 257 to 270. So just going through these pictures, the first one you can see is an aerial photograph. It shows the farmsteading associated access track and the application site. So you can see the red writing there within that white box. That's the application site, and the rest of the features are annotated to show the context of the application site. Moving on to the next slide, this is an image taken from Google Street View dating back to 2021, and it shows the gated entrance access onto the B729 public road on the left-hand side. The next image is showing the existing gated access from the B729 public road, and that's obviously looking from within the land that's affected towards that public road there. Next one, this is moving down the track. It's an image showing the material and planter equipment stored on either side of the access track to the steading. The second one has exactly the same caption. It's further down the same access track. There are a number of these images, so moving through them, again, this is progressing along that track towards the steading. And another picture, you can see there's a digger there. You can see the buildings in the background which form the steading. There's further equipment located along this track. And some more here as you get closer to the steading. Next image is showing the newer steading building at the actual application site itself. So you can see that on the left-hand side. The next image is a further image showing the newer steading building that's been formed at the site. Moving on, this is a view looking towards the Loughin with the newer steading building in the foreground there. And a view again looking towards the Loughin, which you can see in the background with the older steading building on the right-hand side. This is a view of the older steading building as built originally as a hay shed. You can see that on the right-hand side. And a view of the proposed route to the new access track and proposed house site beside the trailer. And this is a view showing the proposed house location in the centre of the image, behind the tree which is annotated there in the white box, and the proposed access crossing the field which would link the existing track that you've just seen where the trailer is located in the picture. So the view is looking across the field towards Dardarach Cottage and the B729 public road. And when I made reference to the Loughin earlier, that this is a closer view of the same Loughin. This is an image from Google Street View from Dardarach Cottage on the B729 public road. So this view is looking over the field containing the application site towards the Loughin, and the tree that you can see there is the tree which was referenced in the previous picture. This is another image from Google Street View, again from the same public road looking towards the application site. So as a point of reference, the proposed dwelling house would be to the right of the promontory into the Loughin, just at the tree there, and between the tree and the viewing point. The access to the proposed dwelling house would be formed to link the existing access track and the steading which lies to the left-hand side of the Loughin from this view. And those are all the images that I have. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks very much. Members, do any members have any questions in regards to the photographs that you've just seen? No, thorough presentation then. I have none either. So, we'll go through the papers and I will come back to the two particular points I spoke about earlier in regards to pages 218, which is within the exempt ante, as we've already discussed, but the fact that it's outdated in particular is the point I'm going to talk about. And I think, as we've been outlined earlier by Claire, is that if we get into the particular detail within that report, we will take a resolution, to exclude the public. Well, we'll discuss that and then we'll come back to it, but I see it, I think it's quite fair, and it's obviously some of the information is written within the information we have anyways at a high level in regards to that report, but the detailed financial stuff and so on and so forth, if we need to discuss that, we'll take a resolution to exclude the public. So the notice of review and related documents is on pages 157 to 168. Any members got any particular points in regards to that? Report of handling and related correspondence is 171 to 188. Again, for members, if they've got any particular points you'd like to raise or questions and such like, we can always come back to them if required. Observations of the appointed officer and the applicant's agents. Notice of review, pages 191 to 195. Just make sure everybody's got a bit of time to put their hand up and such like. Plan and application form submitted on 7th of February 22. Associated plans and supporting information, pages 199 to 217. Decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated the 17th of November 22, that's 221 to 225. Again, just making sure everybody's got enough time to come back in. Nobody in the room, and don't see anybody online. The relevant extracts from Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan 2 and National Planning Framework 4, pages 229 to 253. No signs of any movement. Relevant extracts from Dumfries and Galloway. Oh, sorry. Covered that. Photos of which we've covered anyways, but 257 to 270. 7 is, sorry, that which includes. Members, I don't see any hands coming up online. Nobody within the room. I suppose I'll just go back to the particular point. So we've been asked to, have we got enough information to make a determination? There's 2 points I think we need to be looking at, going back to similar stuff. So we've been asked to, it's felt, I think because of the reason I'm taking it's because of the reasons for refusal in particular, a site visit is appropriate. We've been asked to do that. And the second point is in regards to the Labour report. So we'll have that as an exempt item. I think it's brought to our attention, it's actually out of date, it was relevant for 6 months, and it's whether we need the most up-to-date information in regards to consider this. My personal view, because I don't see any hands come up, I'd be in favour of both actually. I think it'd be only fair to allow the appellant, so to speak, but to get a fresh and up-to-date, we're looking at accurate information that could be considered, taken in that's the bulk of their case, I would say, a big chunk of it, what they're putting forward, just so we're absolutely clear. A site visit. Councillor Dempster, maybe I'll came to you if you've got any particular points you might have raised, but this is your neck of the woods. I don't know this area that well, but again, going back to the site visit, I think it's been asked particularly because of the reasons for refusal, for what I can see. Jim, you might have a comment in regards to that or not, but I do feel it's relevant. Jim?
No, I've no comment. Chairman, no. And for me, I think we've enough information to deal with this today. And I see no reason to conduct a site visit, but I'm happy to accede to the views of the other members. But that's certainly my view.
Thanks for that, Jim. So we'll open up to other members. You've got 2 conflicting views, which is absolutely appropriate. Councillor McFarlane, Andy?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'd be happy to go along with Councillor Dempster. I feel that we have sufficient, particularly in relation to the hours, labour hours. I'm not really sure how much that will change in the interim, but I'll be advised.
So Laura, I'm probably just got to come at you at this point because it's yourself that picked this up in particular. So Laura.
Thank you, Chair. It would depend which way your determination is going. I would suggest that if the local review body are being influenced by the information contained in the Labour report to reverse the decision, then it would be advisable to get an updated Labour report.
I think that's appropriate advice from Laura. So members, I'm sympathetic towards this, going through it without getting to the crux of it, but we'll go through it as we have. So I'll open it up to members. So we've been through, asked for further information. We've all read the report. We understand what's being asked for here. So I'll probably ask for further members. It could be yourself, Jim, or even Councillor McFarlane, if you've got a particular view in regards to this, because you two have come in and think that you've got enough information to make a decision today, and we can take it from there. So either Jim or Andy, whoever wants to come in first. Jim, you're first.
Are you now saying we're in session, Chairman, and we're not going to have a private session with this Labour report? Because I'm also content that the information I have from the Labour report is enough for me to make a decision without having to get into a private session and not refer to any particular detail. But if that's what you're asking, I'm happy to go into session now and make a determination, yes.
It is in real terms, Jim. I think what I was trying to outline was we've made a decision in real terms that we've got a different view, but we made a decision that we'll not ask for any further information, which we'd have to halt the meeting at this point in which to do that. We're not having a site visit, for what I can gather. We don't have a majority view in regards to that either. So therefore, The only thing I would say is that information, it might be relevant or not, but it's outdated. I think it was Councillor McFarlane that said it may well not change, but it did change with the two within the 6 months. It may or may not have changed. It might or might not have influenced our decision. I suppose that's the point and the reasons for refusal, why I would have took the view to get that further information. But Jim, we're in session, we're comfortable to go forward, and but that information is obviously void. We cannot really take that in consideration, I would say, because it's out of date. I think that's advice is what we're getting from Laura. Andy, Councillor McFarlane?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, again. Yeah, I think it's important that we do consider the exempt item and have a conversation around that and take advice in relation to the relevance of it. And if we were mindful not to support the applicant and to support the officer, how that may be dealt with subsequently. So I'd be glad to have a conversation on that if we could, please.
If I could, so I'll bring in Councillor Thompson, but I suppose the question is, do we want it in exempt or in public? And that's I'll ask that first, and to get that clarified from a governance point of view. I mean, I'm comfortable to make a resolution to exclude the public and have that 10-15 minutes conversation on that particular exempt item, because there is information that would probably come up. I'm getting a thumbs up from Councillor McFarlane. I'll just bring Stephen in first, Councillor Thompson, and then we'll take governance advice.
Yeah, so I think if we're moving towards just examining the information we already have in front of us as being potentially sufficient, and we can then discuss the merits of that effectively, I'm sort of, again, it's maybe I'm stuck on this point, but I'm really focused on the idea that what we're doing is we're reviewing the decision as taken with the information presented at the time. So I'm glad that we're going towards that rather than let's get a refreshed business plan, because to me that would be, well, that's a new application effectively on new information. So but I'm comfortable that we do have the information that we need to review the decision. So if that's where we're going, then I'm happy to go with that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll do that. I think we'll take a resolution to exclude the public, have that full debate in private, so we've got a clear understanding of where we stand in regards to that, and we'll come back out and we'll outline any points that need to be aired in public at that point. So, members, I'll move. We take a resolution to exclude the public as per the Local Government 1973 Act and the relevant script thereafter. Yep, there we go. In paragraph 6 of the Schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland 1973 Act. To be absolutely precise. Agreed, so we've got that agreed. I think we only have one member of the public. We'll only be 10-15 minutes just for your information. Will not be long. Okay, we're live streaming again. Thanks, members, for your indulgence in regards to that, and a member of the public in regards to taking that wee break there. We just need to discuss some of that private information in private. So, to cut to the chase, I think what we've decided in real terms is that we need further information in regards to make I think a good decision, or a decision using good governance. In regards to the information, so we've got to ask for further information. We'll ask Robert to outline what we've got to ask for, and ideally if we can put a timescale to that, Robert, if that's possible. And we've got suggested dates to come back to look at this again, and we'll pick up on that offline. Robert.
Thank you, Chair. Just to summarise my understanding of the position, and this again is incorporating the legal advice that's been provided to you as well. You're minded to issue a procedure notice under Regulation 15, which is requiring the applicant to submit an updated labour requirement report. This is in recognition of the fact that the existing submitted labour requirement report is dated June 2022. And whilst that was considered properly by the appointed officer when the decision was made on the 17th of November last year, it's explicit in that document that it should only be relied upon. It says these figures are current and should not be used further than 6 months from the date of the report. So because the report is dated June 2022, it can't be relied upon beyond December 2022, and that's obviously the period of time we now find ourselves in. So as members, you think it is safer to issue this notification to the applicant requesting further information in the form of an updated labour requirement report in the same format as that which you got in June 2022, so that you can take a safer decision on the basis of updated information. I understand, Chair, I think you were looking at, it's up for debate, but I think that was what you were looking for. And in terms of how long it would take to ask for that information, you were maybe looking at 21 days or so for that to be submitted. It then requires to be circulated around relevant parties for further comment, and then finally there would be a reconvened meeting of the same local review body members in due course to consider the item once you've got the additional information.
I'm comfortable with that if other members are, so that means we'll adjourn this particular item to a different date. We'll seek an updated labour report sometime in the next 21 days. We'll look to get that back in. That information gets shared with the relevant parties, and we'll get a date in the diary through for you in regards to a reconvened meeting. Thumbs up, Stephen? Yep.
Yeah, just pedantic, but is that working days or just calendar days, given that there's a few public holidays coming up?
So we'll think calendar, but I mean, you're absolutely right. There's lots of public holidays. Maybe we could make it 28 if you felt that was appropriate, but I mean, it's very much open.
Is that 28 working days or 28 calendar days?
Calendar days. Okay, we'll make it up to 28 calendar days, I would imagine. But if it comes in 7 days, obviously it'll act things a lot quicker. I was looking at time, what date it is now. Beginning of May, beginning of June, I think is the dates we've got potentially penciled in. So up to 28 days. So a month, in other words, nearly. Okay, excellent, members. We'll move on to the next item. That's adjourned for the moment. Item number 6 is Moss Yard Quarry Site, Gatehouse of Fleet. Refusal of planning permission for siting of 5 holiday pods with associated decked and parking areas, formation of access tracks and water pond, and installation of shared sewage treatment plant. Reference numbers 22/036/full application. I'll pass over to you, Claire, to go through this.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Again, you've got your notice of review, report and handling, observations of the appointed officer, comments of the applicant's agent, the planning application form, decision letter, relevant extracts from LDP 2 and National Planning Framework 4, photos of the application site and locality. The grounds of refusal are, as a result of the siting of the proposed development, it would fail to complement the natural environment and would have significant unacceptable landscape and visual impacts within the Fleet Valley Scenic Area and Galloway Hills Regional Scenic Area, such that it would jeopardise the scenic landscape, contrary to Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan 2 policies OP1, OP2, ED9, NE1 and NE2. The supplementary guidance on design quality and placemaking and planning guidance, Fleet Valley National Scenic Area Management Strategy. Requested method of determination to be on assessment of the review documents with further procedure requested in the form of a site inspection, and additionally on the basis of one or more hearing sessions, the applicant has provided that this would provide an opportunity to discuss and or present the appropriateness of the proposal on the specific site. Grounds stated in the notice of review are in summary. In relation to the principle of the development and siting, including landscape and visual impact, LDP2 policy ED2 states that proposals which expand existing businesses or create new ones in the rural area will be considered favourably, subject to other policies in the plan. The proposal would expand the existing quality accommodation provided by the applicant in unique rural locations. The proposal complies with this policy. LDP2 policy ED9 states that the Council will support the provision of a range of serviced and non-service tourist accommodation. The proposal would create a new group of accommodation in a very specific location which complements the natural environment and does not jeopardise the scenic landscape which local residents and tourists come to appreciate. The proposal could not be sited anywhere else, as the site was specifically selected following extensive feasibility studies with Scottish Power Network ecologists and MEP engineers. This site is already serviced by an existing track. The proposal complies with this policy. LDP2 policy OP1 Part C states that the development proposal should respect, protect and or enhance the region's rich landscape character and scenic qualities. The proposals are temporary and sit into the natural topography of the site. When viewed from the beach road or across the water from Carrot Bay, they will not be visible. New planting will enhance the biodiversity of the area as well as providing some low-level screening in keeping with the character of the NSA at Moss Yard. The proposal would not be prominent in the open and exposed landscape, instead would be naturally camouflaged by the material selection against the ascending topography. The proposal would respect, protect, enhance landscape character. The biodiversity of the site will be enhanced through development. The proposal complies with this policy. LDP2 policy NE1 states that the development within or that would have an effect on a national scenic area should only be permitted where it would not adversely affect the integrity of the area or the qualities of which has been designated. As demonstrated above, we do not believe the proposal would adversely affect the integrity of the existing qualities of the NSA. Proposal complies with this policy. The Fleet Valley National Scenic Area Management Strategy at 2.1.2 states that scenic qualities are more difficult to define as they are based on our reaction to, our feeling about a particular landscape and our value judgment about how beautiful it is. This proposal is a sympathetic quality proposal. The architecture is supported and the site is an existing man-made quarry with hard and hand-standing area for cattle. This is the only site of this nature available to the applicant. Reviews that make it desirable as an extension to an existing business, offering premium, unique, short-stay accommodation in the heart of the National Scenic Area. A site visit is essential to demonstrate this. In respect of LDP2 policy NE1, the proposal will create a minimum of one full-time job in the area and provide quality accommodation to support the tourism in the area, bringing trade to the nearby restaurants and local businesses that rely on this tourism to thrive, not just survive. In terms of the design and finishes, the timber structures were deemed acceptable by the case officer. There is a specific need for the development on the site as LDP2 policy OP1 Part C, as there are no other viable options for the applicant within their ownership, and the proposal complies with this policy. You have all the relevant development plan policies at LDP2, being OP1, OP2, ED9, HE3, NE1, NE2, IN9, supplementary guidance, design quality and placemaking, and dark sky park friendly lighting. National Planning Framework 4, you have policies 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 13, 14, 18 and 30. Main issues for the LRB to consider are the applicant's agent has submitted information which was not in front of the appointed officer when the decision was taken on the 17th of November 2022. This information comprised a batch of late representations from third parties expressing support for the proposal. Section 43 of the Town and Country Planning Scotland Act 1997 as amended provides that in a review under Section 43A 8 a party to proceedings is not to raise any matter which was not before the appointed person at the time that determination reviewed was made, unless the party can demonstrate A, that the matter could not have been raised before that time, or B, that it's not been raised before that due to time with a consequence of exceptional circumstances. On that basis, a member satisfied that on the basis the late information should not be taken into account. Noting the site visit request and hearing sessions request from the applicant, are members persuaded that there is sufficiently compelling reason to undertake a visit in this case and then engage in hearing sessions? In this regard, it is recognised that either or both further processes would need to be requested by means of a procedure notice. By reasons of its siting, would the proposed development fail to complement the natural environment? As a result of its siting, would the proposed development have significant unacceptable landscape and visual impact within the Fleet Valley National Scenic Area and Galloway Hills Regional Scenic Area, such that the scenic landscape would be jeopardised? On that basis, would the proposal fail to accord with the terms of LDP 2 policies OP1, OP2, ED9, NE1 and NE2 and the relevant supplementary guidance? And again, you've got NPF4 as now part of the development plan. The decision on this case was taken by the appointed officer before NPF4 became part of the development plan. So you should note that any decision taken today would need to make specific reference to NPF4 policies as part of the development plan, so that your decision must be either to vary the planning decision or grant planning permission, making reasoning clear and explicit. Does the proposal accord with the terms of NPF4 policies 4, 7, 14 and 30 insofar as the landscape and visual impact arising from the proposal by reason of the proposed siting is concerned? And if members conclude that the proposal is contrary to the terms of the development plan, are there any other material considerations which would justify a decision which would represent a departure from the terms of the development plan, and if so, on what grounds would such a decision be made? And if members are minded not to uphold the appointed officer's decision and instead grant planning permission for this proposal, what set of conditions and reasons would members wish to see attached, if any? And if members are instead minded to vary the terms of the appointed officer's decision to make explicit reference to NPF4 and the decision notice, what changes to the specific reasoning for the decision would be required? So again, having outlined your papers, it falls to the LRB to first determine whether you have sufficient information. Again, it's confirmed there's no representations here today. You have the same options available to you for the procedures as outlined previously, and again you have your independent planning advisor and your solicitor present. So if members clear and no further clarification is required, I'll again ask the chair to lead the debate, and in the first instance to lead you through the agenda papers to decide if you have sufficient information before you to make a determination today.
Thank you, Claire. Thanks for that. What's there, any members got any particular points in regards to what Claire's just said? Don't see any hands coming up, so we'll go through the same as before. We'll have the photographs. Robert will go through them, then we'll go to the information contained within the report. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Chair. Again, these are pictures taken by the case officer, and the captions have been provided by the case officer when they were doing the site visit. I haven't been out to the site. These pictures also replicate the ones that you have in your paper. They're by no means the only pictures that you have in your papers. As you'll see, there have been a lot supplied by the applicant, which are quite useful. I'm just trying to find the actual page numbers so that you have them, just for the avoidance of doubt, but they do replicate the ones that are in your papers. It's pages 467 and 468. So just looking through the pictures now, this is a view looking towards the southeast from the application site towards Moss Yard, which is the farm and the kind of caravan development. You can see just before you get to the Solway Firth there, you can see the islands of Fleet in the background. So this is looking towards the National Scenic Area, the Fleet Valley National Scenic Area. The next slide is a view looking northwards. So Cairn Harrow, you can see the hill in the middle of the frame there. That's from the application site. And then you've got a view taken from Google Street View. Again, it's looking northwards towards the application site from the U21S public road. So that's the one that links the A75 trunk road to Moss Yard Farm and Caravan Park. So for the avoidance of doubt, you can see that exposed light grey rock. I couldn't tell you exactly what type of rock it was, but that's your former quarry site. So that is the location of the proposed holiday pod accommodation units. And the final slide that I've been given is a view again taken from Google Street View. It's looking east, so this is towards the National Scenic Area, towards the application site, and that is taken from the U21S public road, which is linking the A75 to the Moss Yard site.
Thanks for that, Robert. Any members got any questions, points, comments, such like? I'll just wait for the screen to clear before I can see if there's anybody coming in online. Who clears that?
No.
Stephen.
Thanks, Chair. I think it's maybe this time thing that I'm getting obsessed with, but I think it was mentioned at the start just about NPF4, and I think in the handling report, in page 344, I think it is, but it sort of then talks about those elements of NPF4 which have superseded things since February 2023. So I'm just sort of, I suppose, I'm slowly getting my head around the fact that we actually can consider things that weren't maybe in place when the original decision was taken. So it's just to get that clarity. So presumably that's something that we should give appropriate weight to if we're considering this in the fullness of the information we've got in front of us.
Chair, my advice on that would be the appointed officer's decision is dated the 17th of November last year. NPF4 is now part of the development plan. It became part of the development plan on the 13th of February this year. Your determination today needs to be made in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. And there are obviously, guidance documents relative to NPF4 in the papers. The Chair did mention earlier on page 250 of your papers, there's guidance in terms of how you apply NPF4 policy if there's considered to be an incompatibility with local development plan 2. So you must consider the most up-to-date policy as overriding, which in this case is NPF4 because it's a more recent policy. The only other thing I would really say would be, well, a few points. NPF4 is a strategic national level document. It's not considered that there's anything of significant weight within it that would justify departure from the terms of the development plan. And in relation to this case, looking at NPF4, there are policies of relevance, and these are kind of picked up in the appointed officer's comments too, which you have. If I just can check this on pages 341 to 343. So again, any decision taken today would need to make specific reference to NPF4 policies as part of the development plan. So your decision, as you've been advised by the clerk, would be to either vary the planning permission to reflect that, or grant planning permission, making the reasoning clear and explicit. So you must take NPF4 into account today. It's a de novo consideration. The only other footnote is Scottish planning policy no longer carries any weight in the decision-making process, so you should just discard that when you're looking at the delegated report.
Okay, thanks for that explanation, Robert. So if there's no further points, questions in regards to the photographs or further clarification, we'll go through the There's 2 points I think we'll be coming to in particular. That's in regards to the new information and the request for the site visit, and we can go beyond that. That'll be the appropriate point there. So, notice of review and related documents are on pages 277 to 281. If any members have any points, clarity questions, so on and so forth. Report on handling, determining the delegated powers and related correspondence is pages 285 to 338. Observations of the appointed officer on the applicant's agent's notice of reviews 341 to 343. Comments to applicant's agent on observations of the appointed officer's pages 347 to 350. Don't see anything coming up. Plan application form submitted 9th of March 22, associated plans and supporting information is pages 353 to 46. Decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated 17th of November 22 is pages 429 to 433. The relevant extracts from Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan 2 and National Plan Framework 4 is pages 437 to 463. And we have seen the photographs as Robert's just outlined. We had a question in the back of that. Okay, members, we're heading into session now with a couple of points, I suppose, in regards to, we have to determine how do we have enough information to make a decision today. I'd like to ask a question in regards to the advice, the further information in regards to positive representation. I think it's made in particular. Stephen's asked something similar, but is that something that really should be considered? Should we disregard that? And we'll come back to the site visit. I'll ask members in regards to that. So is that yourself, Robert? I think was it yourself, Laura? I'm not sure who's coming in it, maybe. Robert.
Quite happy to answer the question, and if I say something wrong, I'm quite happy to be corrected as well. I mean, basically there has to be, you have to decide whether or not you wish to take that extra information into account, and in doing so that you've got to consider whether there's a reason why it couldn't have been in front of the appointed officer when they made their decision. And you've also got to kind of satisfy yourself, I think, that there's a reason for you to take that information into account today. So you've got to be satisfied that there are an exceptional set of circumstances why you would take it into account. What I would say is, I've seen these documents. They're late representations in support of the proposal from a range of local addresses, and that's fine, but it's up to the local review body members. I don't think, if there was a further planning application submitted, for example, you could submit those quite easily. I just think they've just come in quite late in the day in trying to support the application. But it's up to yourselves to feel if you feel there's a compelling reason why you should take that into account, because it is new information.
Thank you. It's exactly what I expected to hear. Thank you. So, in regards to do with further information, has been a request for a site visit. What do members think about that in particular? Usually, as per usual, I'm open to suggestion, but ultimately, it takes at least 4 of the members to come to some form of agreement. So I do need somebody to come up with something. There has been a request. I think we should respect that request in as far as considering it. So, like I say, I'm open. I'll start bringing members in if they don't come in. Councillor Jim Dempster, good. Is it Jim? So, all right, so that's fine. Jim will accept that as being. I can't see the chat with him. I can now though. It's been opened up. So you're saying Jim's content not to go with a site visit? Any member otherwise minded in regards to that is the way I'll just frame that here then. Councillor Thompson's got a point to make, I think.
Yeah, I'm just conscious of the advice we got in the last item just about whether or not to look at additional information, for example. Would that same advice apply here, or is it slightly different circumstances? Because obviously we can either agree to determine on the day or go for a site visit or whatever, but in terms of the information we could or should include in our consideration today, is that one of these things where it would be a section 15 as well, for example? For
me, I think the difference, Chair, is when we looked at the previous case, there was a particular piece of information which was in front of the appointed officer when the original decision was taken that was pivotal to that decision, and within that same document there was the advice that you couldn't rely upon this beyond 6 months of its date of publication, which was June 2022. So if you like, it kind of self-declared itself as expired and kind of not for purpose in taking a decision. So the idea was that it was safer to then request an update to that document. In this case, you've got pieces of written correspondence supporting the proposal that weren't in front of the appointed officer when the decision was taken. So they weren't taken into account when the decision that was made. It's just a question as to whether or not you wish that information to be in front of you when you make a decision today. Stephen.
Yeah, so, but in material terms, that's effectively the same, because the information, any new, so for example, the last item, any new request for information would never have been in front of the appointed officer in that form when they took their decision, in the same way as the other information we're being asked to consider today wasn't in front of the appointed officer. It's effectively the same, but just a different context, I think. Is it? Or am I just picking that up wrong?
I would say there is a difference between the two, because the information in the last matter was in front of the appointed officer at the time. It's just that it needs to be updated. The subject matter had already been raised, whereas the documents that have been submitted late were not in any form in front of the appointed officer. But that doesn't curtail you. If members feel that they want to read these late representations and they feel that they could not have been raised before that time, and that it's there are exceptional circumstances which caused them not to be raised before that time, then they can, through the Regulation 15 procedure, ask for those documents to be lodged.
Thank you. Councillor Dempster. Jim.
Thanks, Chair. And I know every LRB sits on its own, and that's quite rightly so. We need to be confident that we are following a procedural process that everyone understands. And if we allow ourselves to be bombarded with new information, it undermines the fact that we're reviewing a decision made by a case officer on a set of circumstances at that time. And Laura has pointed out, well, the last one, the case officer did have a work plan or a labour requirement document, and we're simply looking to have that updated to have the same type of information again. This is completely different, and I'd be concerned because we will also find ourselves in a position, and this is a public meeting, people will be listening and trying to learn how best to, for want of a better word, influence members. And I would suggest that we deal only with the information we have before us at the case officer at the time. And if there's new information that the applicant or agent or whoever feels might influence the planning a decision, they can reapply at another date, and usually there's one visit at no charge to the applicant or agent if the planning application already been made. So I would be uncomfortable if we start taking new information at every juncture, at every LRB, and I'd be far happier if we remained the way we've been doing in the past, where we only consider the information that the case officer had at the time. But Laura's already said that, more or less. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Jim. Councillor Jordan. Emma.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I agree with Jim. I think that we should go with the information that we have in front of us, and I would second if Jim was making a proposal, but I would also second that not to make a site visit. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Emma. I'm glad you covered the second point in regards to the site visit. Okay, any members otherwise? So we do have a proposal. Any other members otherwise minded in regards to, I think in particular, rather than I think the extra information, I agree with that entirely. Open-minded in regards to a site visit, as always am, but I don't see anybody else coming in looking for that. And I've had a thumbs up for Andy saying he feels that he's got enough information today to make a decision, so we'll take that as being the case. So members, it's over to yourselves in regards to going forward and making a decision. We're in session, Jim, as you'd like to describe it in real terms. Members, we have the case, we have the information in front of us, we have a decision to make. So, again, Councillor Dempster.
Again, Chair, having read the officer report, I think it's comprehensive, and I would propose that we do not vary the decision made by the case officer at the time, and we refuse the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any other members? Councillor Thompson? Yep.
Yeah, I think my key thing here was about just the safety of decisions, I suppose. So I think now that that's been fairly clearly clarified, I'm happy to support Councillor Dempster's proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Jordan, Emma, your hand's still up, or is that still up, or is it a new hand?
No, it's a new hand. Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I was just going to say that I agree with Councillor Dempster and Councillor Thompson, and that we should go with the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. So, Robert?
Thanks for the opportunity, Chair. It's just to advise members, if members are effectively wanting to uphold the existing decision, you do need to vary that to reflect the fact that MPF 4 is now part of the development plan. If it's helpful in that regard, there is a wording that's been provided by the appointed officer to reflect that, and that appears on page 343 of your papers. And that's at 3.3. It says, in order to reflect the adoption of MPF 4 on the 13th of February 2023, she is suggesting that the reason for refusal is varied as follows, as she's put out, so that may be helpful to you.
Thank you. I think so. Referring to that page, I've not got anybody else coming in, and I'm not otherwise minded myself to make a different proposal. So I wonder, is it Robert or Claire who's got to refer to that? Maybe just to encapsulate the NPF 4 part of that. Do we need that explicit, or can we agree? But we'll just give Claire a wee minute just to get a chance to look through that. But we'll take Robert's advice in regards to there may well have been the reasons, the previous reasons for refusal, but in addition to that, the contents appropriate within NPF 4 will be added. Robert, have you got your hand too? Just in regards to, have you got a particular page number so we're looking at the correct bit?
It's page 343 of the papers. I mean, what it's basically doing is it's not changing the essence of the decision. It's simply making direct reference to the relevant parts of MPF 4. So it's bringing the previous decision up to date, reflecting the fact that MPF 4 is now part of the development plan.
Okay. So in real terms, members, we've agreed the decision that's been made is to refuse this application, and the reasons for refusal will be updated, and we'll see that through the minute as it comes forward. Members of no further business today. That's the last item. Any other business? I have no further business. We've got that agreed. Thank you very much, members. See you at the next one, or whatever it may be. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Well done, Chair, staff.